Welcome back, LSU baseball fans. I am joined by my good friend, Mark Garland. It's been a while since he and I have done a show together, but excited to have you on. What's up, Mark?
How's it going, man? Long time no see, Alex. I mean, I know we talk off air and everything, but we don't ever get to do shows anymore. So this is exciting for me. Wake up and get to do a show with you, buddy.
Yeah, this is awesome. We're recording this Friday morning, trying to get this out for the super start. We want to go ahead and kind of preview it a little bit, talk a little bit about what this matchup between LSU and West Virginia is going to look like. Mark, can you give us kind of your view of the LSU Tigers right now? They're the betting favorite to win the national championship right now. How do you see this LSU team?
Listen, I mean, they got to be happy with how their side of the bracket is shaking up. Yeah, watching them live, I watched every game that they played this weekend. The Little Rock games are something, it happens. There's going to be lulls in the season, but the good teams figure out ways to win, and that's what LSU did last weekend. They figured out ways to win. They figured out ways to get in that ball game and stay in there and win, versus a very hot Little Rock team, and that team played better than it had all season in that weekend. There's players all over the board for LSU, but I look at Jared Jones getting hot again. If that dude can figure it out, 20 home runs, 69 RBIs, and you and I have talked. I had him picked as a Golden Spikes finalist early in the season. I thought that he's that kind of guy. He can get going for this team. Ethan Frey's done his job, right? He's been really good up there in the top of that lineup there for this LSU roster. Derek Curiel, Daniel Dickinson have been good all season. If those guys all get going again, there's a reason why this team is either first or second in whatever betting odds you want to see them or Arkansas for the national championship. I believe in this LSU team, and a lot of it starts too with Kate Anderson, Anthony Ianson. As soon as the transfer news came in about Anthony, I talked to you because he's a West Coast guy. UCSDN's like, this guy is an elite arm that they just got, and he's proved it all season. I mean, 10-2, 2.5 ERA, coming out of the bullpen even. He does everything that they want. Jay Johnson's very happy with his performance, and these two guys give you an opportunity to win any weekend series. And when you're looking at a matchup here as a super regional where it's 2 out of 3, I really like LSU.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to. I mean, you mentioned, Anthony Ianson coming out of the bullpen. I said it when Jay did that at the SEC tournament. I was like, he's prepping Anthony for exactly what happened in the regional. Because if you look at what Jay's done in the regionals the last few years, I mean, Gage Jump came out of the pen in the regional final last year against North Carolina, and it didn't go well for him.
Yep, because he hadn't
You
done it
know,
before.
Exactly. So Jay's like, you know what? I'm not gonna have my guy in that situation again. So he was gonna make sure that he got his guy a bullpen appearance, so he knew what it was like and knew how it was gonna look.
Yeah.
Um, and Anthony's, like you said, Anthony's been awesome all year. I mean, LSU has two legit aces. Like
Yeah.
those guys would be the legit ace on any staff in the country, and they're both on LSU. So yeah, I think you're 100% right in there that they give LSU a great opportunity 20 series. When you look at West Virginia, they've
Yeah.
got two legit frontline starters too. Griffin Kern, their Friday night guy, or game one guy. He's been really good for them. I mean, he's not Kate Anderson, but he's been really good. He's been really solid arm. He's got a really good I'm trying to find his uh ERA right now.
3.13.
3.13 ERA. He's been um and 100 strikeouts, in 95 innings. So he's going to strike you out. What's kind of the scouting report on Kern?
Throws a lot of strikes. He beats up the zone. You mentioned it right there. 95 innings pitched, only 29 walks allowed. This guy will not give you free passes. That's not his deal. He likes to go out there, beat up the strike zone. He's got a good 3 pitch mix. He can mix in his fourth ball with the changeup. Good 3 pitch mix. Okay, fastball change, slider, curveball. He really gets after hitters early in counts. So I think that what you're going to be looking for is LSU is going to get after him early. They're going to try to get out after those 0-0, 1-0, 0-1. He throws strikes in the zone early, so I think that LSU is going to take advantage of that part of it. But he's been great lately. I mean, he's been beating up inside, outside, not afraid of hitters. He'll go after them. Mid to low 90s fastball, so nothing that's going to overpower LSU hitters. But the fact that he throws multiple pitches for strikes in the zone makes a big difference, and that's what it's been for him this season. 100 strikeouts to 29 walks. Griffin has been really good down the stretch. Also, I think he's just gotten a little bit better throughout the season. But he's been their go-to guy, and for West Virginia to have any chance, he's going to have to go pretty deep into this ball game. The strength of this pitching staff has been the bullpen all year. The last 4 weeks, this bullpen has been struggling to get outs. Even in the wins that they had against Clemson and West Virginia in that regional, the bullpen really struggled with the arms that they had after they get past Chase Meyer and Reese Bassinger.
Yeah, and then you look at their number two starter in Cartsonis, Jack Cartsonis. First of all, I got to mention his elite mustache game.
It's
Uh,
high. It's high.
Dude, it's an awesome mustache. I turned that game on when he was pitching against Clemson. I was watching a bit of that, and I was just like, "Wow, what is this dude's mustache?" It's awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, and I know he didn't start the season, in that role, but he has really seems like he's really taken, grab a hold of that role. I mean, he's got the lowest ERA, almost on the staff. There's one reliever that has a lower ERA than him, but basically, one of the lowest ERAs on the staff. And
Yeah.
what's kind of the scouting report on Cartsonis?
Same exact formula. That's why he got the job in the weekend rotation. He came in as a reliever, right? So he had 19 appearances in the season. 8 of them only starts, and it's just recently, right? They're like, "Hey, Jack's been really good. We're gonna throw him out there." So he's the same kind of guy. 64 innings pitched, 76 strikeouts, 16 walks. I mean, these guys just don't walk people. That's what they go out and do. They've been asked to throw strikes. They go out there and they throw strikes. Jack to me is a little bit more fiery than Griffin, so he goes out there and gives you just a little bit more and gives you a little bit more of an edge. The 2.94 ERA, 6-3 on the season, but like I said, only the 8 starts, so he's really still finding himself as a weekend starter. He's not going to go out there and throw 8, 9 innings. That's not his style. He's going to go out there and give you everything he has, but it's going to be about 6 innings. But he's going to throw strikes. He's going to try to get guys out. He's going to strike out guys as well as making guys hit ground balls. He's a big ground ball guy. So he's going to go out there, throw a sinker, slider, change, try to get you to miss on pitches, but he doesn't miss the zone a lot. 16 walks in 64 innings is crazy. He's pretty good at beating up the zone. So as you see, these two starting pitchers, they mirror each other in the fact that they both throw a lot of strikeouts because they throw strikes. And they don't walk guys. They don't give you the free passes to give you those obs on 2-run bombs. Don't necessarily come off this team. They've only given up 55 home runs on the whole season, so less than one a game that they've allowed. This pitching staff just throws strikes, though. I mean, they get after teams, and that's what you're going to see from Griffin and Jack.
Yeah, and then when you look at this bullpen, you kind of mentioned earlier that the bullpen was strong early, but faltered lately. Really just kind of from what I'm looking at, mostly just at stats. I haven't watched a whole lot of West Virginia baseball this year, but from looking at their stats, it looks like you mentioned they've got two guys, Reese Bassinger, and the other guy's name
Chase
is
Meyer.
escaping me. Chase Meyer is kind of their main guys, and there's another guy. Uh, Another guy who's got 5 saves too. Reese Bassinger and Carson Estridge.
Estridge, yeah. They use a mix of guys in the bullpen. So they did that all season. That's why they didn't really have a full weekend rotation because they knew that they could just throw in some different arms. The thing that's beat them up lately, and it wasn't a problem earlier, it has been walks. Like Chase Meyer was really good about getting guys out. He's a big strikeout guy, 44 innings pitched, 62 Ks. But the walks have crept all the way up to 34. Now, that's not one per inning, but it's getting closer, and his whip keeps getting closer and closer over that one now. Where these guys early in the season were like, okay, they're throwing so many strikes, people are having a hard time getting after it, and they're not walking guys. They're not giving those free passes. The bullpen has been giving up way too many free passes, whether it's hit by pitch, walks, easy hits. I mean, it's been almost like the bullpen is fatigued at this point in the season, Alex. Like they used him almost too much early in the season to where they were really successful. It feels like these guys have a little bit more in the tank, but man, they looked a little tired down the stretch of the Big 12. Now, they came out and performed fairly well in that series there last weekend in the regional, beating Kentucky 4-3. And then they go out and they beat Clemson 9-6, and then they beat Kentucky 13-12. But you could see it in the end of the Clemson game and even into that Kentucky last game there where the bullpen was like not getting those outs. They were just not getting guys out. They were giving way too many opportunities. Kentucky just ran out of pitching. Otherwise, West Virginia maybe not even getting out of that regional.
Yeah. I think to your point about the bullpen being tired, Reese Bassinger has over 60 innings. He's got
Yeah.
61 innings pitched on the year, which is a lot for a reliever. So yeah, I think that's a good point. And then when you look at this West Virginia offense, Not a lot of power.
No.
Only one guy with double-digit home runs, and he's got exactly 10.
Yeah.
Uh, I think with 55 on the season. Um, but they they create a lot of havoc on the base pass, right? They've got over 100 stolen bags. They
Yep.
sack bunt a lot. What what do you like about this West Virginia offense?
They put a lot of pressure on teams, like you said. So they have 100 plus 108 steals on the season out of 141 attempts. So they're going to get after. They're almost attempting 3 stolen bags a game. So they're going to put pressure on you. When they get guys on, they're going to do things like hit and run. They're going to do things like bunt and run. They like to get guys in motion and make defenses think. They scored 7.86 runs per game, Alex. I mean, that's pretty high among the national average. That's getting up there for runs per game while only giving up the 503. So that's pretty good for them. Their team average was 299. So it's not like this team didn't hit. They just don't hit the long ball. They go doubles, they go gaps, they do little things right to make this team successful. Like you said, they hit 55 home runs. They gave up 55 home runs. So it's not the long ball is not really necessarily what they've been used to playing this season. But you got guys like Jace Reinhardt who are a good leader. 317, 8 home runs, 51 RBIs. He leads them in RBIs. You mentioned Kyle West has the 347, 10 home runs, 36 RBIs. Grant Husey was a guy who could have been an All American, kind of struggled a little bit down the stretch this year. 275, 7 home runs, 35 RBIs. And Sam White's another guy who stepped up 352, 4 home runs, 44 RBIs. There's a lot of guys in this lineup that hit. The team average being 299. There's 6 guys over 300. They like to get singles. They like to hit doubles. They like to move guys around. So you're going to see stolen bases. You're going to see a little bit of old school baseball here, Alex.
Yeah, a lot of West Coast style small ball. Jay's certainly familiar with that style of play, although that may not be his style anymore. Although this team is a little bit more of
Do
that,
a
a
little
little
bit
bit
more.
less. A little, this LSU team's not quite the 23 team that just mashed the baseball. But I mean, LSU has attempted, I think, almost 40 stolen bases this year, and we're talking about, man, they run a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
For
they tried
just
68 and got 50 of them. I mean, for LSU, that felt like a lot this year.
yeah, for sure. Um, but yeah, so just kind of looking at this West Virginia team, what is their path to victory in Alex Box?
It's going to start with Griffin Kern. He's going to have to be elite. He's going to have to come out and just throw strikes and trust that his stuff's good enough to get guys out versus the home run ball, right? LSU had 97 home runs, which is crazy that might be a little down year for them as far as home runs go. Talking 97 in the history of LSU. But Griffin Kern's going to have to trust his stuff and go out there and throw strikes. These guys didn't necessarily have a ton of true road games where they had to go crazy distances. And when they did play road games, they weren't necessarily super successful. So I expect them going into the box having a little bit of trouble here. But it all comes down to their starting pitchers. Like you said, Griffin Kern and Jack Carsonis, those guys are going to have to be really good, eat up some innings, and go get after some hitters and hope, the guys across from them, Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson, stumble a little bit, but that hasn't been the case. So this might be a fairly low scoring affair. But I think once LSU gets into that bullpen, they're going to exploit it a little bit, the tired arms. I think you're going to see some fatigue from West Virginia. But the only way that they get through this, winning at the box, is if those two starting pitchers in Griffin and Jack really are huge.
Yeah, it seems like just from what I've seen of this West Virginia team is that their only path really is their only realistic path, barring something crazy happening, is winning this in 2 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, they're going to have to win this in 2 because if it goes to 3, LSU's got a big advantage in the bullpen. But it's funny that we say that LSU has a big advantage in the bullpen, but the bullpen has kind of been LSU's Achilles heel through a lot of the season. When you look at that loss they had to Little Rock, I mean, they walked 11 batters.
Too many
I mean,
walks.
that's the thing with this LSU team. There's a ton of stuff coming out of that pen. I mean, when you look at like Chase Shores and Jacob Myers in the SEC tournament, they were both up to 102. Like there's not a lot of pitching staffs in the country that can roll out 2 guys throwing over 100 out of the pen. But they walk people. They don't always, it's not always getting over the plate. So, that's going to be kind of the interesting thing of, can LSU limit the walks? I think, as a team, uh, West Virginia does, they draw a fair amount of walks. I mean,
Yeah.
so that's gonna be key for LSU. What do you see as the key for LSU to win this series? If LSU wins this series, what is it? What is the formula?
I think you just nailed it right there, buddy. That's what I had listed in my highlights is throw strikes. You gotta force this West Virginia team to hit and out hit you. Listen, they're gonna hit singles, they're gonna hit doubles. Those don't kill you, especially that. But if you give up the walks, all of a sudden, a couple walks and a double, you're 2 runs down. They're not gonna hit the ball to the ballpark a ton. Not, and it's not gonna come from this West Virginia lineup. You're not gonna see them do that. But if you give up the walks, if you give them walks and give them opportunities to creep in this ball game, they're gonna battle for you and they're gonna run. So that if you give them walks, they might steal second and then a bloop single scores a run. That's something that LSU is going to have to limit is those free passes. Do not allow the West Virginia runners to get on base, even in 1 out, 2 out cases, because they'll take advantage of it. They'll get you that one single that they need. They might get out hit 2-1 in the series, but if it's the walks that hurt you, that's the only way LSU really can lose this series. I think it's theirs to lose, Alex. I mean, they have every piece of this. The only way they lose this is by giving up the free passes. They haven't seen that necessarily from Anderson and Ianson. I think that those two really do beat up the zone. So if they go deep in the ball game, I don't think there's much of a chance for West Virginia.
Yeah, that's kind of seems to, and I think offensively for LSU, they got to grind out at bats.
Yeah.
You can't, some of the when LSU's offense has struggled lately, kind of down the stretch, it's been where they're swinging early in the counts and getting pop ups, just popping balls up, early in the counts, and they can't do that against West Virginia. The best way to do it, from where I'm sitting, is grind out at bats. Run the pitch counts of Kern and Cartsonis up, get them out of the game early, get deep into that West Virginia bullpen. And that's where LSU is going to make a lot of hay, I think, because I think you're right with Kern and Anderson. I think that game's going to be a low scoring affair. I mean, that's going to be a 2-3, 1-2 kind of ball game. And then one issue that one concern I have, probably my biggest concern for LSU, is Zach Cowan.
Yeah.
Zach Cowan was Mr. All Everything for this team early in the season, and through 90% of this season, he was awesome. His last 3 or 4 outings, starting with A&M at the end of the regular season, have not gone well. I don't know how much you've watched of Cowan, but what do you think is maybe his issue there?
He's got elite stuff. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that the dude can play. He's got elite stuff. The thing is, to me, it almost looks like just that fatigue is starting to set in a little bit. Maybe his legs, maybe he's got a little arm fatigue, but he started missing a lot arm side, which was not normal. Missing arm side was not a good thing for him. So I think what you're going to see is maybe buckle down. Maybe if you get into a situation where you're leading and by a good amount, you go out there and just build him some confidence back up. And maybe don't overuse him. Just but build him some confidence. Go out there, let him throw an inning, and just see how he's feeling. Get him that opportunity to be successful again. I think the thing is, he also faced a lot of good teams down the stretch, so it's not like he was facing bad opponents. So it's not like he was just going out there and struggling against bad teams. He was struggling against some really good opponents in some big moments. So I'm not down on him like a lot of other people are. I think that it's a little bit of fatigue. I think it's a little bit of a mental thing. So if you can go out there, give him opportunities to be successful and get him ready for going to Omaha, I think that's bigger key for him versus just saying, oh, we're kind of going to shut him down for the season.
Yeah, I think I certainly, you're definitely not shutting him down, and
No.
I can almost guarantee you that if in the 8th inning, if we're talking about there's 2 outs, there's 1 out in the 8th inning, and LSU's got a 1-run lead, Jay Johnson's rolling Zach Cowan out there.
He's going to roll his best arm. Yeah, he's going to roll
Yeah,
who's been there for him all season. I mean, Jay Johnson has faith in his guys. I just think that you try to set him up in some successful. So maybe you're up 3, 4 runs, and you go, okay, we're just going to go get out you. Go throw those innings. Go throw that inning out there. Go get these 3 outs for me right now. Kind of build his confidence back up because he has all the stuff to be an elite arm out of the bullpen, and I think that he still is. I think he's just gotten inside his own head a little bit, and then I think that's caused a lot of those arm side misses.
yeah, and I think from what I've seen, it's like the changeup is just not as sharp as it has been. It doesn't have the bite to it that it had early in the season. And I mean, beginning of the season and for most of the season, that changeup was probably the best pitch on the staff, like of anybody's pitch. That count changeup was the best pitch, which is saying a lot for some of the stuff that's coming out of this LSU pitching staff. But yeah, it just doesn't look the same. It doesn't have quite the same shape. So I don't know what's going on there. I'm hoping, maybe you're right. It's just kind of a mental thing and that he can work through it. But uh Kason Evans has really been um just a spark for this team. I mean, when you look at what he did in the regional against Little Rock, I don't know. You said you watched that game. What do you like about Kason Evans?
He's a dude, and he steps up when you need him. I mean, he's a guy that hasn't maybe gotten all the opportunities in the world. Maybe he should have been given some more opportunities. But I trust Jay Johnson, and I think that's the biggest thing that LSU fans need to lead into this weekend is trust Jay. He knows what he's doing. This is not a short-term game for him. He's been working on this all season. He's been setting these guys up for the successful part of the season, and I think Evans is stepping in. He believes his role. He does what he's supposed to do, and he's been very successful because I think Jay Johnson has put him in these roles to be successful. Goes out there and takes care of business. I like him. I think he's a gamer, man. You give him an opportunity, give him the ball. I love it.
Yeah, I talked to him earlier in the season. I did an interview with him on here, and I mean, he's a hard guy not to root for. He's awesome. Jay Johnson told a story the other day that when they were recruiting Kaysen, that he was supposed to go to a wedding, a good friend of his wedding in California, and Kaysen and his parents said, "Hey, we want to come back and for a second visit this weekend." And Jay called his friend and said, "Hey, man, I can't come. I can't come to the wedding. He's like, he's like, my friend he was a baseball guy.
He
So, I just
understood.
told him, I was like, look, I can't tell you why right now, but like, just trust me, you'll figure it out. And so, Jay missed that and got Kaysen on campus. And then after the game against Little Rock, Jay said he called his friend and was like, that was the kid.
Makes sense. It clicks.
I
It
was like,
makes
oh yeah, okay,
sense.
yeah, I get it, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I love it when you get those guys that are gamers though, and will give you an opportunity, especially early in their careers, and just come out there with a little bit of fire. And maybe that's exactly. I mean, you see it every year. We've done this for a while, Alex. When you get an arm like that all of a sudden can figure things out for you, and you get hot, and you're like, hey, there it is, found it. That's what we needed.
yeah, absolutely. And then one more thing before I let you go is I want to talk a little bit more about Ethan Fry because Ethan
Yeah.
Fry maybe I don't know if I'm not allowed to necessarily play favorites or anything, but I mean he might be my favorite player on this team because he's a unicorn, man. He came to campus as a freshman in 23, was
Yeah.
buried on the depth chart. I mean he'd have been a significant contributor as a freshman on a lot of baseball teams around the country. But he's buried on the depth chart in 23. 24 is an injury riddled season. He ends up having to have shoulder surgery as soon as the season's over. And then, but he sticks it out. He stays around. And then even in beginning of this year, he's a role player. He's in and out of the lineup, kind of dependent on matchups. But, the back half of the season, he has turned it on, and, what do you like about Ethan Fry?
This is a kid who, like you said, he was buried in the depth chart early, and there was a lot of big recruits there at LSU. And he believed in himself. He's like, I'm gonna earn a spot. I'm gonna figure out a way. I'm gonna carve out a role. Well, that turned into, well, now I want to play every day. Now I've got to where I have this confidence and I have this ability, and he really showed it up. I mean, 359 on the year, 13 home runs, 49 RBIs, and does a little bit of everything for this team. And he feels like the kind of guy that you want to follow. He's that kind of leader where you're like, okay, yeah, this is the guy that worked himself into this position. He's worked through a lot of adversity in his career so far. I mean, yeah, I know it's only his third year at LSU, but a lot of adversity for this young man. So he knows that even when things get tough, he's okay to get going. He's like, I'm good. I can do this. It doesn't matter, guys. We still got this. And that's the kind of guy you want to follow. And I really appreciate guys this day and age that don't just transfer out the first negative thing that happens to them. First time they see a little bit of adversity, they struggle, they go home, they leave. That's not Ethan. I think that just seeing it from afar, I don't get to see him every day, but everything that I've seen about him, everything I've heard about the kid, is that he's willing to work hard and he believes in himself and he bet on himself to stay there at LSU.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you the LSU baseball data Twitter account put out, all of the exit velos that were over 100 from the regional final, and Ethan went when Ethan went 4 for 4, all 4 of his hits were over 110 exit velo. His home run was 116 off the bat. It's wild
Yeah.
stuff. Um, and he is the kind of guy that this program was built on, where he's a small town Louisiana kid who grew up bleeding purple and gold, wanted nothing more than to play at LSU and make a name for himself at LSU, and he's doing it, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, I
Well,
love it. I mean, it's the kind of guy you want to root for, honestly. I mean, even from, like I said, from afar, if he gets to Omaha, he's one of the first guys that's going to line up, and I'm going to try to give him a handshake and talk to him a little bit. I mean, that's the kind of guys that myself growing up and watching LSU baseball for a long time at the national level. He just reminds me of an LSU ball player. He goes out there and he just grinds and figures out ways to help his team win. Even if he doesn't have all the numbers, even if things aren't going perfectly well, he's still going to go out there and give you his best effort, and I love it. I mean, I'm all for it.
yeah, I can't wait to see both you and this LSU team in Omaha. Assuming they get there, I will be there. And looking forward to it. But I got to get you out here with your official prediction.
I've been on lots of shows this week. I've taken LSU in two. I really think that the combination of Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson is maybe the best 1-2 punch in the country. And I really think that them going out there against this West Virginia lineup, they're going to stop it. The biggest thing I think that can change my prediction at all is if the bullpen of LSU starts giving up walks. Don't allow walks. Do not allow this West Virginia team to get on base, do the base stealing, bunt and run, hit and runs. They like to do it late in games. You saw it when they came back on Kentucky in that first game. You saw it when they came back in Kentucky in the third game. They like to put pressure on you and just figure out ways to keep grinding. Do not allow the free passes.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I think LSU gets it done in 2, and then we'll be hanging out at the Animal House in Omaha.
Can't wait. I fly down Wednesday. I'll be there.
I'll be there Wednesday night.